How's it going, everyone? Anthony Taylor here, just making sure we're all set for the stream. I'm excited to share with you today. We're going to be reviewing some strategic plans. We've got 9 different strategic plans to look at today, and I'm stoked to be able to get to them. If you're just joining the chat, say what's up. I just want to make sure everything is okay on the sound here before we get going, because, sometimes it just doesn't work. So let's see if I can hear. Great. And I don't know. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Just setting up this new setup. But so one of the things I wanted to do earlier this week, we did a webinar on the things that you need to consider and think about as you get into your strategic plan. Just had a conversation with a team about like, hey, we really want to make sure that our strategic plan is better than it was the year before or the period previous. So I thought it'd be useful to look at a couple strategic plans to give them like an audit or so, and just to see, what makes a good strategic plan? What are some components you can include? What you might want to think about as you move forward in your own planning. So I thought I'd bring that to you today, and I'm excited to do that. So let's get going. Let me just share my screen here. Perfect. All right. So we got a couple different plans. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger because you don't need to see that much of my face. All right. So the first plan I wanted to cover today is the Langara 2020 strategic plan. So as you may know, SME Strategy is headquartered in Vancouver, BC, Canada. And so we picked a lot of Canadian organizations. In the comments below, if you'd like me to review a strategic plan, most often they're public organizations that have their strategic plans. Most private organizations don't, unless it's like a stockholder report or something. But I want to just go through this. I've given a quick look over them, but I didn't take any notes. So just like what I want you to think about is as you go through your plan, you have to think about it from the perspective of the reader, from an external perspective, as well as somebody internal. What are they going to see? What are they going to take into place? So what I like about this plan already is that they've basically set it up to be live. Okay, so let's look at the components. Vision. This explains what it is. Langara is Canada's pathway college. We provide students with the academic and exponential foundation to chart their course to further education, professional development, and career success. I actually like that because it's an aspirational future that's not too ridiculous. But what I don't like about it is that there's not like a specific, though it says we aspire to be that in 2020. I don't know how I would know other than just sort of a feeling of it. The mission and purpose provides accessible undergraduate, career, and continuing education programs and services that meet the needs of diverse learners in the communities we're serving. I think it's a bang-on mission. I actually went to Langara before I got kicked out. So great school, really appreciate it, really like what they do. I should also note that as we go through looking at these different strategic plans, it is by no means a criticism of what anybody's done or created so far. It's really, really easy to edit and to provide a perspective on it, okay? So I like that they've got the values here. I'm not going to go through all of them. What I like is they've outlined their values, but they've also explained to a degree what that actually means. So the key part would be like, how does that apply within their organization? I really like this thematic priority that they've put in here, that they've put like, while they have a long-term strategic plan, they've put a shorter term priority is stabilizing financial sustainability. So they've outlined and said, we've got these big picture aspirations, but we've got this really critical short-term goal that we need to accomplish over the 24 months, which ultimately like guides everything else. And then they've called them vision categories. I would call them strategic priorities, organizational sustainability. So I like that they've done here is they're using it as a reporting tool to actually say, okay, here's our actual, here's our target. This is percentage. When I first read this, so it said 90% of key business processes are mapped. I was like, okay, well, how many business processes do you have in total? They've basically said, well, we've done about 10% of all of our processes. So I imagine that it's like sort of in the back end there. And then I like how they've added this actual qualitative as well as the target quantitative. So they've actually broken it down to 2 levels, which I think is very handy. And then it's sort of an update. And then they've put a little note here. Awesome. 1.2, so notice that this is organizational sustainability. They've made sub-strategies. I'm not going to go through all of them, but 1.2 are actual target and then actual target. So they're getting pretty close, 99 to 99.9, but they actually have measurable goals. They're reporting out. It's specific, it's visual, it's interactive. I really like this. And then they've got the sub-strategies in here. And so, we could go through all of this, but it's much of the same, okay? But the key part is that they have to say, hey, we need to establish the baseline and then our target is top 10%, but actual target. Like that's a key part that I find isn't included in a lot of strategic plans. Perfect. So they've got a couple things like that. And so on. So I really like this. Great plan. They've actually shown the cascading here, and I'll put it in the link in the bio so you can actually see what they've done. But I just think it's such a great piece for a couple of things. One, they've set out the vision and mission, which I think are accomplishable. They put their values. They've put a thematic priority that everything else below it is going to drive that forward. And it's key, so it guides everybody's knowing. And then they've made it accessible so you can scroll down to see whatever. So great job, Langara. Kudos to you on that one. So this is the city of Vancouver's corporate plan. As you can see, different style. What I liked about the Langara one is that it was sort of a little bit more interactive. So I take a look at here and I say, okay, whoa, there's 9 goals. So already I see 9 goals. I think that it's broad, and I was a little bit concerned about it. The purpose, you got all that reading. I really like at this point in their document, they've taken a time to highlight and to showcase how they've gotten to here. So what they have put in place. So it's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different sort of wins that you can see and say, hey, we put this in place. Hey, we put this in place. Hey, we put this in place. They're measurable. They're specific. Some of these are quantitative because obviously you wouldn't say we added 1 person to our cybersecurity team. So it looks better when you say, it could be 1 person because it's just 1 person. But I really like how they've done this. And then they've actually expanded. So they've reported out on their goals in a slightly different way. Corporate plan foundation. So they have their mission, makes sense. And then the corporate values, similar to what we did before. This is 6 corporate values. I think it's great. Maybe a little bit many. And then you have, and this is where I'm not a super big fan of this because I think it creates confusion where you have corporate values, then you have business planning principles, and then culture goals. So you're talking about the same thing sort of repeated over and over again. Oh, my camera just died. Cool. That's neat. Let's try that. See if that came back. Neat. It's one of the things we got to learn with our new Canon is that sometimes it turns off if you've had it on for too long. Okay, I'm back. So as I was saying, there's a lot of different layers of things to remember. Just here, just talking about the culture and the approach, there's something like 15 different approaches. So there's a lot of stuff to think about. Okay, overview, people plus prosperity equals environment or plus environment. Cool. I like the sort of summary there. Okay, long-term strategic goals. So there's 9 long-term strategic goals. I just have to check to see how long this plan is for, 2010. So it doesn't actually tell me the date. I see that these are mostly qualitative, as in there's not a lot of specific measurables at this point. So again, I'm just taking it at face value from what I've got from so far. What I do like is that they've highlighted these top 4 so that these bottom 5 are maybe wish list items once they get to the top 4, which is great. Addressing affordability. I don't know how long that's going to take because I live here and trying to buy a house. Protecting the economy, focusing on diversity, equity, social issues, and accelerating climate change. So that's a lot of stuff, that's more of a priority than keeping people safe and having amenities and making sure that our assets are taken care of. So I actually appreciate the approach that they've taken here. So what they've then done is says, okay, how we're affording this, here's our measures. So that's how they're tracking them. So I like that they've actually said what the KPIs are versus actually setting the targets, again, at this point, because I know what's coming up later. I really like this component, that they've identified the sub-strategies, what I would consider sub-strategies. around, okay, how are we going to move these things forward? So what are the pillars? And they've actually included who is accountable for it, so that when it comes to actually communicating it, getting it, engagement, talking to people, you can actually say, hey, I got to call the city manager because I want to talk about Vancouver Affordable Housing Endowment Fund. So really, really great oversight there. I love that. And again, there's 5, 6 sub priorities within there. Nope, there's more. Okay, so there's a lot of sub priorities in here. I get it. It's a city, but it's could be confusing. But what is good is that it shows who's accountable. So different people have different components. So I do like that part. Again, this is their number 2 priority. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different people, different plans. Okay, and then so on and so forth. It continues. So not bad there. Again, as you start piling on a priority, sub-strategy, it becomes overwhelming. There's the balance between talking about it internally and sharing it externally. I think it does give a lot of transparency, which is what you want for a city. And obviously, like, some people are not going to, if this is the fire chief, the fire chief is probably only responsible for that part, so probably doesn't need to worry about everything else. So from that perspective, I think it's all right. Again, it's a very long document. There's a lot to take in here. But still not bad. And then additional information. So what I like about this, visually nice. I really like the fact that it shows the accountability. I like that they highlight these key accomplishments within here, so you can actually see what's been done, which is a key part of like circling around it. There's a lot of like additional documents that come up here. From a transparency perspective, I think this thoroughness is important. And then I would just wonder what the targets were, because it says we're going to measure it, but what are the actual targets? That may or may not be internal. So not sure how they're choosing to do that. And I'm just going to double check. If you guys have any questions, guys and gals have any questions, just put them in the chat. If you're still with me, just let me know. But yeah. Okay. So that's the plan number 2. Let's move on to a whole other plan, shall we? All right. Sorry, I'm trying to fix this and get back to my original screen. All right. Excellent. So this is Teck. This is a multi-billion-dollar organization. Does a lot of work, northern BC. So close to a private company. I don't think it's public. They do a lot of public-private partnerships. They do a lot of stuff involving one of our clients is a partner with Teck. So they've talked about sustainability goals here. And so sustainability goals in each of these areas. So it's pretty short, but they don't need to do this, as in they're not mandated to do it. It's just like a transparency kind of thing. So strategic priority, be a carbon neutral operator by 2050. That's a very clear, specific things. And then it looks like they've set some short-term milestones through there. So I like that. Reduce this, procure this. Cool. So it doesn't actually get into the nitty gritty of how, which is fine because you don't need that. I think it's just clear. Hey, our goal is to try to do this by 2050, and here's our targets along the way. Some of these strategic priorities I saw earlier are qualitative. So their objectives: continue to manage our tailings across their life cycle in a safe and environmentally responsible way. I would wonder how they're tracking that. I'm sure that there is a way. I just don't know what it is. And then goals, which are sort of like, okay, well, this is sort of what we're trying to accomplish. Preferentially consider milling and tailings technologies that use less water for both new mines and any mine life extensions at existing mines, and expand the use of digitally connected surveillance technologies to assist in monitoring our tailings and storage facilities. So it's a little light. It just says, well, we're going to use more digital stuff, and we're going to think about doing this other thing to help us do this. So it's not the highest priority. I'm sure 1 or 2 of these probably made it higher. So this one, this responsible production, probably made it more important because they spent more time on it or more information on it. So all in all, it's clear, it's specific, and they've done a really great job of putting KPIs for most of them, measurable things. And And again, for a private business, great. And it gives 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think because they have so many different subsections, they actually need to be that thorough. So they're not necessarily strategic priorities, but they're sort of broad across the entire organization that apply to a bunch of different things. So great job, Teck. Thank you for that. Okay. This one was interesting. So this is the Red Cross. This is Strategy 2020. This is the closest thing that I could find to their strategic plan, fundamental principles. So their guiding purpose. By the way, the reason I'm highlighting this is you can see a bunch of different layouts, a bunch of different approaches, and a bunch of different language styles that people use to communicate this. Table of contents. Okay, super clear. Really like that it pops out at the eye. So introductory note, who we are, mission, vision, values. Our mission is to improve the lives of vulnerable people by mobilizing the power of humanity in Canada and around the world. Our vision, leading the humanitarian organization through which people voluntarily demonstrate their caring for others in need. So sometimes I think that visions are too broad. I think this one's actually good. Not actually as in I'm surprised, but I think sometimes they're too aspirational and wishy-washy, but I think I get that because it says the leading. So it has a quantitative measure as part of it. The difference between a quantitative and strictly qualitative vision is night and day. So it explains to me what you're trying to do. Introduction, great. One Red Cross, so it's just more like about us. So I was unsure if this was a current report or if this was aspirational and saying at this point we are this, as in like this is what we're doing. So we're going to be working in partnership, delivering comprehensive aid, providing development programs, and giving natural and partial assistance. And then I came into these areas of excellence. And so I don't know if they're actually telling us that this is what they're doing and they're sort of using like an assumptive language that it's done, or that it's giving us a report. I'm unsure. It does sort of show like priority areas within this, but it also just sort of reports out, hey, this is what I'm doing. So I was unclear about what this was from a strategic document because it doesn't really give any direction, but it does sort of give an update as to who we are and what we do. So from a strategy document, it's sort of like underlying who we are and what we care about. All right. Again, if you have any questions, just put it in the chat. Happy to answer. So this one was neat. This is the Fed, the Federal Reserve. This is their strategic plan. As you can see, it's graphically stimulating. This is their vision and value. So this is, you can see their mission is really long. It wouldn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that it's that long, but I just have no interest in reading it. I don't feel like reading it to you. I don't want to read it at all, but that's okay. I think for an organization like this, the values are important. Again, values with a description. What does it mean? Excellence, efficiency, and effectiveness, independence of use. You're going to start to see some of the similar words as they come up. Like you're going to hear repetitive things, not just from me. Okay, so here's what I liked about this. Let's take a sip of water. So they have their mission. So they're a mission-based organization. Everything they do is guided by how they do things. They have their goal, so they've outlined a couple of ways. They have their sort of pillars. I bet they use the word pillars, the language of pillars of monetary policy, financial stability, supervision, and payment system and reserve bank oversight and public engagement of community development. And mission enablement. So those I wouldn't consider strategic. It's like what they do all the time. It's the reason for their existence is those 5 things. Okay. Now where their focus is these focuses. So what they've called goals, which I would call objectives. I would actually probably call these strategic priorities. And then within these, they have objectives, which is how they're going to drive that forward. None of these objectives, none of these goals, from what I can remember, had specific measurables on them. But just to highlight, they have basically the pillar, the goal, the objective, and then what these ones are sort of like the how we're going to move it forward, what we're going to do. Somebody asked, will you be reviewing the strategic plans only for the not-for-profit organizations? Here's the thing. is that most for-profit organizations don't publish their strategic plans. I'm happy to do a bit more research and look at that. But I find that, and I tried to find some, is that they don't need to. They're not required. And so like, why would you? You're basically giving up your sort of competitive advantage to somebody else. I will do some more research, and if I can find a couple that are for-profit, I certainly will. But it's typically not-for-profit organizations that publish their strategic plans. And if anybody internally wants to showcase their strategic plan, I'm happy to give it a look. And if we want to blank out some stuff, and maybe I can get some clients on here that'll share. So Samir, hopefully that answers your question. So, we're looking at it cascading. There's just so much wordiness in here that I would wonder how much direction it gives people. I think it's, they're using like CYA language, like cover your ass language in this, because it looks like it's written like a lawyer would write it. Lots of commas. That's how I write this and this and this, not limited to. But again, another way to look at it, no specific measurables, so you don't need to worry about it. Okay. This one was cool. I really like this. So this is the Washington State Cougars. Okay. So I don't know if this is a for-profit or not-for-profit university. So table of contents, as I look at this, goals, they don't actually say what they are, vision, values, that's fine. Note. There's two cool things I want to highlight here, but I want to highlight the difference between what you say and what you mean as this, okay? So executive summary. So mission statement. So it's the summary. You could look at this as like a one-page strategic plan. Some people talk about one-page strategic plan. The mission of Washington State Athletic is to unleash excellence. Now, I don't know what unleash excellence is at this point. So like, okay, together we will achieve what was once defined as impossible. So if you're on this stream or if you're watching the replay, like that might as well be your vision, because it has nothing to do with their school right now. Okay. Pride. Great. I like the idea of it. Now, this is the thing I like the most. They've included the big, hairy, audacious goal is we will appear in top 10% of Directors' Cup standings. That's specific to me. That's clear. That's alignable. That's awesome. And then the goals, we'll get into that after. So this is, now I really like how they put the metrics first. So instead of diving into the metrics individually, they've put the metrics top of mind, say, okay, first, this isn't exactly a metric, but formalize roles and expectation. That's more of a priority. Track annual. So it's actually not metrics, despite it says, okay, so this is actually the strategies, not the metrics. So they probably have metrics to these: implement an all Cougs, go pro, proximal. So these are all strategies for the overall strategic plan. Now, here's what I thought was interesting, is that if you remember from that executive summary, we talked about the mission of Washington State Athletics to unleash excellence is not actually their mission. Their mission or their purpose is to provide a transformational student athlete experience while elevating Washington State University through competitive excellence, campus collaboration, and community engagement. That's really their mission. So unleash excellence doesn't mean anything. It just sounds good. Somebody in marketing wrote it. This mission actually has substance to it, and that's why I really like it. Core values. Again, they've said, here's what it looks like. They've come up with a cool acronym. And, I just noticed that this is a W and this is an S and that's a U. So it's a Washington State University. That's neat. Should organizational have both values and guiding principles established? You can have them. I just try to keep it simple, because you might have operational principles. I know Amazon has operational principles, the way we do things, but the values is for like people. And then you could say the guiding principle is just for like the work. I don't know if there's a differentiation. I would personally like combine them and make them simpler, but different strokes for different folks. Thanks for asking, Kimberly. Okay, vision. So, together we will achieve what was once defined as impossible, not a vision. However, this 10% in D1 institutions and Directors' Cup standings make us the fourth institution with 17 or less sports to do what we have in the last 5 years. So they basically included that as part of their vision. The other part is sort of qualitative. Now, this is neat. And this is the first one we've seen, at least in this review, is where they look at the vivid descriptions of success. So I would use past tense language when I say we are considered one of the nation's elite athletic departments. We are competing for national championships and enhancing the university's brand and visibility. We are putting the team before ourselves. This is like end state kind of things that complement this top 10. So this is what I was talking about before, between the quantitative and the qualitative aspects of your vision. Our student athletes are graduating at a higher rate than campus peers. So what would that be if you wanted to go there, while undergoing a transformational experience, etc.? So this is the passion and pride of Cougs is powerful, cool, end state. We are experiencing unprecedented collaboration, communication, engagement across the university system. So again, end state. And I love it because it incorporates, so this is a really important thing to consider as you do your plan, is include others in your strategic plan. So shout out Chris Perry from WestGen. In their strategic plan, they said that I was going to have X amount of kids. So he pulled me into their plan. So that way I was going to have to be successful. The only thing that's stopping their strategic plan is me having kids right now, which makes me feel really bad as a facilitator, but that's another story. This has said, okay, we're going to the university system, the state, WSU stakeholders, and WSU athletics. So they're actually pulling all of the different people into their strategic plan so that they have like a vested interest, like they get other people's buy-in. And it's incredibly smart, whoever decided to do that, because it's going to be, you can't do it by yourself if you have a big enough vision. You need to get your stakeholders buy-in. Best way to get your stakeholders buy-in is include them in your vision and have something in it for them. So goal 1. Okay, so then they've done goal. I'm just going to scroll down just to make sure I'm not missing anything before I tell you what I see. Okay, so now they have multiple goals. So they have goals, which is like strategic priorities. Then they have objectives within that, which is fine. And then they have sub-strategies: enhance, elevate, design, formalize, etc. So this. So that's like the cascading nature of it, moving it all down. Yeah, goal 2, same deal. Goal 3, same deal. As you can see, it's a really long doc. So goal 3, revenue maximization. We will maximize revenue streams to provide, We'll maximize revenue streams to provide additional resources and opportunities for our student athletes while continuing to assist the university in expanding reach and reputation of the WSU brand. So I sort of think those things are opposed. I'm not going to go deep into each of these. I would just wonder, again, you have 6 goals plus your BHAG plus objectives. It's a lot of stuff going on. And then this is their update of how they've done. This is all the people that are on the process, and this is all the stuff. So, oh no, I think it's cool. I think that this is the first one that we've had a vivid vision that's been comprehensive. So I think the vision is the best part. I think their mission is clear. They've just twisted the jargon that they think is impactful and is not, or not as much as I think. And again, I'm not always right, believe it or not. And I think that what they really did the best out of this one is engage their stakeholders in the vision. I thought that was amazing. I forget that I have to look over here now. Cool. All right. Y'all having fun? Are you enjoying this? If you're on the stream or even watching the replay, just let me know. Are you getting something from this? Is it giving you inspiration? Are you learning something? I've done one of these before, but it was way shorter and definitely not live. So if you're enjoying today, be sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified. This is actually our last video of 2020, but we got a lot of cool interviews coming up for some just awesome people. And maybe one of our guests will actually share their strategic plan. I'll see. I wonder if I could do that. We just actually interviewed somebody from Vancouver Island University at another education who's telling us about their plan. Oh, man. Okay, so Kimberly asks, what is your advice for building buy-in for the strategic planning process? In my experience, I often have folks who want to jump ahead to the end and avoid the research and analysis phase. My shorter answer is like hire a facilitator. That's super biased. But yeah, you have to go through the process. So I'm showing you the end document, which for a lot of these organizations probably took months, like legit 9 months to do, to get everybody involved. All right. I'll do a different webinar on that. Okay, well, what are we looking at now? Florida College Access Network. So now we're on the East Coast. Shout out Florida. Introduction, great. Some cool images. Oh yes, a consulting firm did this. I remember. So they actually did a really cool job. I liked this one. So mission, we lead the collaborative movement to ensure every Floridan achieves an education beyond high school and a rewarding career. Great mission. Vision, we envision Florida working together where education is the pathway to economic mobility for all. So that's like, again, a broad, aspirational, open to interpretation vision. I don't know what that means and specifically, but that's okay. Core values. I like these because these were a little bit different. Change agent, integrity, equity, collaboration, and heart. Cool. I vibe how that attaches to the outcome. Major roles. I wasn't sure how this fit in. So we were talking about like the guiding principles earlier. I don't know how this fits in with that, but I get the idea that, sorry, I'll unhighlight that to say like, this is how we see ourselves within the ecosystem kind of deal. So I don't know how this falls in. Again, conditions for success. So I guess it's, winning formula. I think it's, you could put these in a bunch of different categories, but I think it's saying here the sort of the necessary conditions we need to foster. At this point, I'm unsure if they're priorities or just sort of like information. And then we have the goals 2020, 25. So forge in partnerships. Okay, so I could see the red text is really their strategic priorities. So advance equity, in fact, policy, capacity, awareness, qualitative. I do like how they showed pictures of the stuff. Organizational metrics. So strengthen local college access. That's not actually a metric. Strengthen relationships. Not actually a metric. Increase participation. Not a metric yet. So they just don't have the metrics yet. I like metrics because then it actually gives you accountability. Key strategies issues. So this is a core question. And this is sort of the strategies. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to help these LCANs grow. We're going to develop a plan. We're going to continue to build on. So I just don't like that kind of stuff. We're going to keep doing what we've been doing is not a strategy. And here's why. Here's why for me is that you take that and you operationalize it. It's now part of your operations if you're providing leadership for statewide initiatives. If you're going to continue doing something, assume it's part of your operations or tweak it to make it a strategy. Don't just keep it the same. That's my 2 cents on that one. Okay, so again, it's equity, advocacy. I still don't know. Yeah, so it's a little confusing. I'm not sure. As it gets communicated, what I'm missing from a visual perspective is how the cascading works. What is the top? So I think they did it well at the top, that mission, vision, values. Great. Where they lost me in this is where are we actually focused on? So maybe the yellow ones are the things that they're focused on. Okay, I could see that. Okay, sorry, I take it back. They're focused on this yellow thing, and then this is how they're doing it. So remember, we saw it a different way. If the takeaway for you is how you lay it out is going to be how people interpret it, and they're going to read it top down. They're not going to read smack in the middle. Develop and implement a comprehensive integrated communication plan. So my problem with this is this strategic priority of communications. I guess there's just like one strategy part of it. And it's just like, hey, we're going to build a plan and then we're going to do the plan, which in itself is not a bad strategy. It's just, there could be a lot more there. Okay, I'm just going to check out your chat here. Thanks for the great work. You are welcome. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And I genuinely mean that. Like, it's on Fridays, I'm like, okay, I got to do a live stream for my peeps because you guys are my peeps, guys and gals. But I just wanted to make sure that I can give you as much as possible. How do you tie the implementation matrix with mission, core values, and strategic objectives? That's a really good question. Excuse me. When you review the strategic plan If we're doing it as an operational review, we review the progress. And it's always the progress against the vision. Everything that we're trying to do is accomplish the vision. I don't care about anything else. If it's not accomplishing the vision, and if it's not driving forth the mission, you shouldn't be doing it. It makes no sense. You're moving in the wrong direction. And then so it's like a vision mission review. Are we still going to the same place from a purpose standpoint? And then an operational goals metrics. Are we aiming at the same stuff? Is this the right path for us to get there? So you want to keep that in mind. Okay. So I can't remember whose strategic plan this is. Cal State. I don't know if it's Cal State, Louisiana. Mission. I actually like their mission. Oh no, Los Angeles. Vision. I really like this. They also did a vivid vision. Will be internationally recognized as a premier comprehensive public university in Greater Los Angeles. So again, that's the quantitative as well as qualitative. We are dedicated to delivering. So what's interesting here is they changed the language. When I say we will be future, we are dedicated to delivering cutting edge academic programs. So just make sure that it's either future state or present tense. For a vision, I would recommend present, because then it's not we will be this sometime in the future, but we actually are it now. Values, I think, great job of being descriptive. There's too many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like there's a lot of values there. So eventually they're going to cannibalize each other. Like one of them or two of them or three of them is going to take precedence over the other. And the question that you're going to have to think about as a leader is like, which one of those is the priority? The fewer you have, the easier it is to prioritize because you've already prioritized them. Strategic priority. So what I love about this, and this is from 2016, what I love about this, it's on one page. It's super clear. I can see everything. And the cascading is evident to me. So strategic priority area, boom, 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 boom. Overall goal. Okay. Graduate civic minded, create a positive. Okay. And then key initiatives. And then the metrics. I love this. This is so far my favorite strategic plan from a structure standpoint. Here's why. Mission, vision, values, clear and separated. Strategic priorities, clear, separated. Goal, so like the qualitative, broad, objective part, clear for each, not for general. Key initiatives, enough that it gives you details on how they're going to drive it forward. So the question I would have is, if we did all of these key initiatives, would we accomplish this? If we did all of these key initiatives, would we accomplish this? If we did all, okay, you get the point. And then what I really like is you see, I get excited about this stuff, is that they've actually put example metrics for each strategic priority. So it's not broadly as a plan as a whole. It's here's how we're going to measure success. So let's see. How would I measure success in engagement, service, and the public good? The number of service learning opportunities, alumni partnerships, faculty participation, expertise, and civic engagement. It tracks, it aligns. Alignment is key for us. How would we measure success in academic distinction? Increase the number of programs that meaningfully engage in program review to improve student learning and measure. So increase to how much, but I get that they don't need to tell us what it is for the sake of this. Increase support for faculty research, creative accomplishment, and scholarship. My question is, how will you increase it? As in, what is the measure? Is it dollars? Is it hours? Is it contributions? Increase the number of publications, scholarly and creative work, and grants. So how much to how much? Great plan. I love it. It's on one page. Super clear. Shout out Cal State, LA. Great job. All right. I think this is the last one. This is the last strategic plan for today. So this is the Ontario soccer. Last year, there's a blog post of we did Canada soccer. I think it was 2 years ago. Okay. So this is the strategic plan. Okay, I'm going to look at it in a different format. So it's visually appealing. So if you wanted to look at all of it at once, I like it. And then we're going to look at it in this document. So how they've done their vision. Soccer is Ontario's sport of choice. Okay, I can see that. And not too far away. Mission, lead and support the growth of soccer through innovative, sustainable programs and services. Okay, it's not bad. I got that. You could probably dig deeper on that. Soccer Ontario, shout out if you want somebody on your board. Shout out Soccer BC if you want somebody on your board. Just so you know, I'm gonna rep you can't even see my video anymore. Hold on. Get that. I hate that thing. My Canada soccer, repping Canada soccer, big fan. Values, okay, player-centered, players on the farming focus. Okay, so I like how they've done that. They took the soccer ball. It's cute. So then they have their strategic priorities. So it looks like organizational stability, priority number 1, member engagement, priority number 2, participant pathway, number 3. I do not know if these are in priority sequence, but if it reads to me like they are. It also reads to me like their sub priorities are in order because they're numbered. So governance, 1, Oscar, which is the registration and youth leadership. So it looks like they've got 3 strategies within their 1 strategic priority. And then they've named them. So within member engagement, there's grassroots soccer, there's futsal, and then there's window of opportunity. Whoa, that's a 7-year. Oh, leading up to the FIFA World Cup in 2016. That makes sense. So I like that. I like that they've actually put a timeline on it so that there's a mental focus and a mental priority. That's cool. Participant pathway. So talent pathway, Northern Districts, match officiating. So I like how they've done that. And then they've basically said a short blurb and a longer blurb. And then partnerships, and I think this is cool, alternate revenues, esports, indoor soccer facilities. So there's 4 strategic priorities, and then under each strategic priority, there's 3 sub-strategies, so like 12 different things. So it's focused enough that I think it'll move it forward, which is great. And here's what I really liked. Again, the primary measure. So targets they put aspiration targets for revenue, registration, and awareness accomplished by the end of 2021. And then they have it revenue, 1 here, 3 for registration, including match official retention rate. I like how they've done 61. I don't know how they got to that, but I like it. And then awareness. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 KPIs for everything. I think that's pretty solid. And then our purpose. So they put the purpose at the end, and I think I can't remember who asked that earlier, but just how they've done that. So yeah, just great job, Ontario Soccer. So there's good stuff, bad stuff from each strategic plan. I'm going to stop my screen share for now. There's so much stuff to take away from it. There's so many different ways, even just like the graphic design of it. You said, we looked at 9 different strategic plans. You can see how they're all viewed differently. And there's something to take away from each. So specificity in the vision is important. Getting buy-in from external people, keeping it simple, making it easy to read both graphically and textually so people can understand it, because you got to think that most of the time your stakeholders are external. If you're a for-profit business, you can create something like this because it's the roadmap for your people to know where they need to go. Perfect. How does strategic plan review connect with strategic process re-engineering? Does review of process procedures form the trigger of the latter? The short answer, and that's not the topic of today's webinar, so I'll make sure I link a video for that after, but it really is about looking at what needs to be put in place in order to move it forward. So as you look at all of these strategic priorities, for example, if they looked at their talent pathway, then they say, great, what do we need to do in order to develop and promotion of talent pathway players, match officials, and coaches? And then they'll start looking at a process review to move that forward. So anyways, I think that's everything for today. Ladies and gentlemen, folks, teams, all of you, I appreciate you being here. I hope it helps give you a better understanding of how to create an outcome of your strategic plan, what's critical, and how you can use it as a tool to guide your people. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to share, be sure to like, hit the bell, and subscribe so you get all of our other live streams. My name is Anthony Taylor. I'm the managing partner at SME Strategy. We help teams create strategic plans. And I'm going to say we're not great at doing the visuals. We're great at getting the content out, getting your team aligned, having a clear version of the future, and understanding where you need to focus in order to move you forward. So if you're looking for some support with your strategic plan to be able to get to a point like this, give us a call. You can contact us with some information that's below in the description. And yeah, I think that's it for today. Thank you, everybody. Pleasure. I appreciate you being here. Happy holidays and happy rest of the week. And we will talk to you